Welcome everyone to Your Money on Purpose podcast. My name is Dawnette Palmore and I am your host. And today my guest and I are going to be talking about combating the fear of money. So let me introduce you to Eileen Joy. She is a money coach for moms. She shows moms how to create wealth without the sacrifice and still enjoy their lives so they can stop living paycheck to paycheck and have a healthy relationship with money. And she shows them how to teach their children about money so they can be set for life. Her 10-year-old son knows more about money than most adults. Eileen is a divorced single mom who hit rock bottom after her divorce. Eileen had to get a new house, a new car, and a new job all at the same time. She went from bankrupt and broke to now totally debt-free, a fully funded emergency fund, a paid-off car 3 years early, and on track to retire early. She has created an easy system that any busy and overwhelmed mom can follow and specialize in, working one-on-one with independent professional moms who have no idea where to start. Eileen has created a safe and comfortable environment to learn about one of the most avoided and taboo subjects, money. No shame, no more guilt, and no more embarrassment. Eileen, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking your time out to come and share your experiences with money and your wisdom. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to talk about money. I love talking about money.
I do too. And so I love talking with other people who love talking about money. It's a fun subject. And I love what you said. No more shame, no more guilt, and no more embarrassment. That is something that society and generations have put on us around money. And we really are, we need to break those chains, I believe.
Definitely. That's my mission.
So you have an inspirational story of something that has happened in your life and turning around in your favor and really changing your thoughts and thinking around money. And we hit a little bit of it in your bio, but can you dig into that a little bit more?
I would love to. This is what changed the trajectory of my life and now so many others' lives. And I never in a million years ever thought that this is what I would be doing with my life. Never in a million years. So it all started after my divorce. And like you had said in my bio, I had to sell my house just to pay for my divorce. I had to get a new job because at the time I was working with my sister-in-law, now my ex-sister-in-law. And she was trying to make my life miserable at work and succeeded. And I just needed to leave. I had a great job. And I had to go find another great job. And I did, thankfully. So at the same time, my son and I got into this really terrible car accident and totaled my car. And we both ended up in the hospital. And I'm still dealing from a neck injury from that accident. And I couldn't turn my head for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Craziness. I know. And then that was all happening at the tail end of a bankruptcy. And everything just kind of came crashing down all at once. And so right after my divorce, I received an envelope from my attorney's office in the mail. I opened it up and inside was a check for $347. That was all I had left to my name. When I was going through my divorce, they seized everything of mine, everything, because when I ran out of money, they just started taking all of my money.
And they want to be paid.
Yes. And then they started harassing me for money and telling me they would stop services and all of these things. And the thing that I don't understand and that it makes me so angry is that when your potential attorney is interviewing you and you show them how much money you have and they know you don't have enough money to pay them and they still take you on as a client, that is just so unethical. It's just the worst situation that you can put someone in, especially a woman, a single mom. Right now I'm a single mom, right? I was a single mom with a 5-year-old with nothing, starting all over from scratch. It always brings me to tears when it just brings back all of those memories of just the day that I opened up that envelope and I fell to the ground sobbing, not knowing what to do. I just kept saying, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to, and you just, then you get stuck in that. Right. So
yeah.
after being stuck for a little while and going through therapy and all the things, I got myself out of it. I made a decision. I made a decision. And it all happened from a conversation that I had with my financial advisor at the time. And I had given her my money that I had rolled over from my 401k from that job. And then my grandmother also had passed away and left me some money, and I didn't want to spend it and I didn't know what to do with it because at that time I really didn't know much about money. And I just knew I didn't want to spend it. So I gave it to her to have her take care of it for me, and air quotes. And so I gave her all my money and she had it for years. And every year we would have our annual review and she would go over my money with me and she would tell me the market was so great this year, blah, blah, blah. And my money was never really growing. And I didn't understand why. And I was very confused because she was telling me the market was amazing, but yet where's my money? And then I would ask her questions and I would never really understand what she was saying to me. And I was very confused and very just not understanding.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes they talk a language to you because maybe they don't
Right.
know what they're doing and they're just like, well, let me confuse them and they're not going to ask questions.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt like a canned response. Like it was something like she said to everybody, but because I did not have a financial education, I didn't understand. So I don't know if she was lying to me because I don't know what she was saying. I don't know if she was telling me the truth because I don't know what she was saying. I just didn't understand. And so when we hung up the phone, that was my aha moment that day. And I said to myself, I need to learn how to do this. I need to understand this. I need to know. And I made it my mission to help myself and my son at that moment. And I said, I'm going to do whatever I can to learn about money. And I did. And I just put my blinders on. I went all in on myself and I learned as much as I could, everything that I needed to know so that I could set a plan up for myself so that it would never happen again. And so now I have a rock solid plan for myself as well as my son. My son will be a multimillionaire by the time he's my age, just because I'm setting him up now. He's 10 years old. And he's now saving for a car at 10 years old. He has thousands of dollars saved in cash and investments. He understands how to invest his money. I've taught him how to do it. I've taught him how to budget his money, how to save, how to invest, how to give, and how to spend. And it's just those basic concepts that people think are hard because everyone thinks money is hard. And it's not, it's so easy. And so I take my moms that become my clients and I teach them like I'm teaching my 10-year-old. I make it so simple and so easy that they can understand it. And it's not hard anymore. Now it becomes actually enjoyable. And then they get to watch their money grow and get rid of their debt. We just eliminate the debt. We set up a rock solid plan for them. And then they become so comfortable with it that then we normalize it for them and their families.
Yeah, that is so awesome. I have like goosebumps all over because your story is just so amazing. I love that you said, I made a choice. Like you decided at that moment that I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I am going to take control of my life and my money, and I'm going to figure out what's going on. And I think you did that without the shame and the guilt, and the embarrassment, right? Like, okay, well, I don't know, but now I need to know. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think sometimes we just, you know, don't want to ask for help for whatever reason. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm that way too. And I'm like, why don't I just ask for help? That's so silly. Like, we need help.
We
and
do.
It's okay to ask for it.
Exactly.
But what a great story that's come out of this tragic situation, right? Like just this flower that's bloomed out of the desert. It's so awesome and so amazing. And what I also love is that you're teaching your son, which means he's going to teach his kids, which means he's going to teach his kids. And it's just this whole generational thing that happens. And you've changed your family tree. Like that's so amazing. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I teach my clients. I teach them all about the generational patterns that we have. And I go back to their money story. And that's where we all begin. Your money story is so important because your money story is where your everything begins, right?
Yeah.
So your money story starts from the ages of 0 to 7. When you're between 0 and 7, that's when you're being conditioned, not just with money, that's with everything.
Yeah.
All of the messages that you're receiving are now going into your subconscious, and then they live there and they stay there. And that's how you operate. So you learn from your parents, you learn from your environment, you learn just from everything around you. And it just is subconscious. So you're not even aware of what you're doing until one day you wake up and you say, oh, wait a minute, I can change this. And that's what happened for me. So what I teach my clients is to start with your money story. And so simply my money story really quick is just my mom was a spender. My dad had a gambling addiction. There was never any money. There was always fighting in my house,
Mm.
screaming and yelling and just crazy fighting about money. So my sister and I grew up with the messages of we will never have any money. As soon as we get money, it's gone. Money is bad. Money causes fights. It goes on,
Yeah.
right? And so then I obviously became a spender because that's how I learned. And no one taught me any different. My parents never sat me down and said, let me tell you about money. It was never like that. And also, my parents' generation, they also never had to save for retirement. They had amazing pensions that they received from their
Mm.
jobs. They had 401ks and other things set up, but they never really actively cared about them. And they knew they were going to be getting these pensions and that they would still have healthcare and all these things after they retired. So in their minds, they thought that, well, I don't have to teach my kids because they'll have the same thing. Well, wrong. That is really wrong. So, the times change. They continuously change. And who knows
Yeah.
what will be like when my son's my age? I have no idea. Right. So I'm setting him up now so he'll have enough to give him the opportunities and the choices and the freedom when he gets older. He can choose to go to college if he wants to or not. He can choose to work or not. He can choose. He loves volunteering. Maybe he might want to start his own organization. I mean, who knows what he'll do? But you know what? He'll have the choice and the freedom to do so.
I love that. And this is really about options, right? It's really about
Hmm.
creating options for ourselves, so we can live the life that we've, I say, called to do, our purpose, why we're here.
Yeah.
And I think money can really put a damper on that if we're not, you know, in control of our money, if we're just kind of going about life, letting life happen to us instead of happening to life. And I just really love and admire that about you. That's so inspirational, and that just fires me up, and I love it. So let's talk. So you do something that's really unique in your coaching. You integrate Reiki and human design in your practice and focus on the energetics of money, you called it. So
Yes,
can you explain that to us a little bit?
of course. So money is simply energy, right? One day somebody made up money. And in the beginning, money was cattle or chickens or eggs or whatever, and people bartered. And then over time, through the generations, right, we have our generational patterns, right, and all the stories that go through that. So over time, it evolved into what it is now. And all money actually is energy, just going back and forth, constantly just evolving. Picture an infinity symbol and it constantly just moving and moving and moving and never stopping. That is the energy of everything, right? Everything. And money is part of that. And money is just an exchange of goods and services. And at the end of the day, we put the power on money. We
Right.
ourselves, right? We put it on a pedestal and it's over there and it's hard and it's mysterious and I don't know anything about it. And I'm going to just put my head in the sand and forget about it because it's hard. So, but money is simply energy. And we've created all of these energetic blocks in our body because of it. And it's not just money, it's everything, right? So we have our chakra system that runs through the body and they get blocked and stuck. Think of it like black tar, kind of like our chakras are supposed to be spinning in a clockwise motion. And that's when we're in our alignment, as they say, with ourselves, right? And when we feel at our best, right? Everything feels like you're functioning properly. You're always happy and peppy and bursting with love, right? So when you start to feel stuck, when you start to feel depressed or anxious or all of these negative feelings, that's when all of those blocks gets stuck in your body. And over time, if you're not clearing your energy out constantly, you just start to feel more and more stuck in your body. And so the Reiki and I also do past life regression hypnosis, and all those things go into the energy. And then I use human design, which is a map of your superpower, right? So the human design just tells you, this is how you are meant to be. This is your fingerprint, your superpower of your life. This is what you're meant to be. And all of the conditioning that you've had is now stuck in there. Right. Yeah. So we go through your human design chart and we say, well, this is what you were designed to be. This is how you're feeling now. And what we're going to do is fix all of this conditioning that you have and basically decondition you to be your best self, which then helps you clear all these internal blocks and be able to live in abundance.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So you can tell us what we are designed to do. Mm-hmm. That's awesome, because we spend a lifetime trying to figure it out sometimes, right?
Yeah. It really helps you figure out your purpose. It helps you to hone in. It doesn't tell you this is your purpose, but it gives you the design of the way that you operate and the way that your body is supposed to operate, the way your mind is operating, and how the conditioning that we get from the time we're born until however old we are now has messed all of it up.
Right. So what are some things, talking about, the shifting and combating these fears and all these things that we've been conditioned to believe and think, what are some things you had to do to shift your thinking about money?
Well, it was interesting because I never thought that I had to do that. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I never, ever, ever thought, I'm like, okay, well, I just need to make a spreadsheet, track my money. I didn't, you know what I mean? Which I did.
The spreadsheet will fix it all.
Right. But what I was doing at the time and what I realize now, thinking back to when I first began with my spreadsheet, was I made my spreadsheet and then I put the formulas on there so I could see what was left over at the end of the month, and it was always red. And I just let it be because I was a spender, right? And I just kept spending my money, but I was tracking it. I was good. I was tracking my money, right? But I was still watching it. I was watching it still disappear. That was the problem, right? So then I kept saying to myself, well, this is not right. Something's not right. I make really good money. I have a really good job. Why is it in the red every single month? Why, where's it going? Like, why can't I save money? I don't have any money at the end of the month to save. And I never learned how to pay myself first and do all these things. I never understood those concepts. And I would hear it and I would know I'd need to do it, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do. And so then I started reading books. And I just started with books. That's where I started. I said, well, that's the easiest place to start. I'm going to go to the library and go get a book. And so I just started reading, and I ended up reading over 200 books.
Wow.
And let me just tell you, I don't recommend doing that because
that's a lot of information.
It's a lot. But then I found such wonderful books, and I found books that really, really were awful. And then I found everything in between, right? So you take what you want and you leave what you want, right? With anything in life. Right. So that's what I did with all these books. And I also listened to podcasts. I asked for help. I asked lots of questions. I just wanted to learn, and I was a sponge, and I wanted to know, how do I get myself out of the red? That was my goal really at first, is how do I get myself out of the red? And so while I was reading, there was this one book. It was the first mindset book that I read about money. It was called The Millionaire Next Door. I don't know if you've ever read that one.
It's a great book. I have it right here on my bookshelf.
It's a wonderful book. I do have to say, it's a very boring book. And it took me a while to get through it because it's a very research-based book. And I know I'm not selling the book right now. I'm not giving it but it's an awesome book. Believe me, if you can get through it. Kind of like that show Outlander, it starts off really slow, but then it gets really good.
You just got to get through the mundane.
You got to get through it. Exactly. So, because I'm not used to reading research books, and this book was recommended to me by so many people. And so I said, all right, well, there must be something to it. And that was the book that helped me to start shifting the way I thought about money. and the way that people think about money. And this book, essentially, for people that don't know anything about this book, it was researched by two men back in the 70s, I believe. And they interviewed millionaires and billionaires about how they manage their money and how they think about their money and the way that they live their day to day with their money. And through that research, they created this book. And it was just so fascinating to see that these people don't care about the Joneses like most people do, right? They live
I
their
say if
life.
you catch up with the Joneses, you'll find out they're broke too.
Exactly. Yes, I totally agree. And so I'm always saying F the Joneses, right? Like, who
Yeah.
cares? They're not paying your bills. And I actually, one day I was just curious because of my research brain. I looked up where did it originate? Where did the Joneses come from? Like, where did this come from? I wanted to know. And it was actually a comic strip back from
Oh.
the 1950s that was created of this family, and they were jealous of their neighbors, the Joneses, and they were always saying, well, they have that, I want it too, they have that, I want it too. And that's kind of how it started. And then over time it evolved now into social media and the internet and movies and all these things. And
Oh, wow.
we see all of these pictures and movies and videos of, and it's all fake. Everything's
Right.
photoshopped. If you look on Instagram, 99% of the people on there are filtered in some way, right? And their bodies are not really who they are. And we think we have to be like that because
Mhm.
that's become our reality. So another thing that I've noticed is that every time I go out somewhere, anywhere I go, it doesn't matter where, everyone's faces are in their phones,
Mm.
right? That's your reality. No one's living in real life anymore. Even people that are sitting at the same table with each other, they're not even having conversations. They're just on their phones. So your phone has become your reality. So whatever you're looking at every day, that's your reality. So if you're looking at all these things of that's what I should be, then that's what your mind thinks, right? So what I
Mhm.
do is I help you deprogram that. And the first thing that I do is tell you to take a break, put your phone down, right?
Yeah.
And then I want you to block things. I want you to change what you're looking at, all these, because that is your reality. So we need to change your reality. So what you need to be looking at are things that are not making you feel less than, are not making
Yeah.
you feel like you don't matter and that you have to have what they have. But you know what? They probably charged it and their cards are probably maxed out. And who knows what situation they're in? You
Yeah.
don't know. Personal finance is personal and everyone's situation is totally different. And everyone needs to understand that what you see is not real and you
Yeah.
don't know what
What you
goes on
see is
behind
not
closed
what you
doors.
get.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's important, I think, for people
Yeah.
to really take into consideration because it is what you put in is what you're going to get out. And why in the world we are so different from each other? Not one of us is identical to the next. Why are we trying to be like someone?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
There's only one of us. Just be
Hmm.
be the original that you were meant to be.
Yeah, burn the box. Get out of
Right.
that box. We don't need the box. Burn it. Be you.
Exactly. We need more of
Hmm.
that because the world will just explode with just all kinds of greatness and goodness if people just got out of that fear. And
Yes.
I think a lot of it's fear of money. So,
Yes.
what are some things people could do to not be afraid of money? Because like you said, we put
Hmm.
money on this pedestal. We're afraid of it. We don't know what it's going to do. Yes,
Hmm.
we do. We can see what it does.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize we're in control. Like it's a choice. Sometimes I talk to people who are like, I had to, and I go, no, you need to change that language. You chose to. As soon as
Yes.
you say you had to, you give your power away and you have the power. So tell us how we can combat this fear around money.
Well, the first thing when we start working with money is awareness.
Hmm.
That's really where it begins. So I challenge people, just look at your money. Just look at it. Stop ignoring it. Just go look at it. Right? So I always have people have money dates and all those things with themselves. Most of the people I work with are single. So I say, go have a money date with yourself. Right. And then I also encourage people to have money dates with their kids because I have a money date with my son every Thursday.
I love it.
And when I pay him on his allowance, so I can get into that if you want, but have a money date with yourself. And when you look at your money before you do it, make sure you're in a good mood. Don't do it when you're grumpy or stressed out or feel overwhelmed, right? Do it when you're in a good mood. Maybe if you can, sometimes I lock myself in the bathroom to have a minute because I'm a single mom. Mommy needs a minute. Do whatever you can to just take a few minutes, 5 minutes. Doesn't have to be very long. Take 5 minutes, open your bank account, look at it. What's coming in, what's going out. Look at your credit card statements. What are you spending your money on? How much interest are you paying? Right? That's really, it's so funny because I ask so many people when we first start working together, one of my questions is, how many cards do you have? Right? And all those things. And what's the interest? No one knows. No one
Yeah.
knows. 0 people have known. 0.
Wow.
And the interest that you pay on your credit cards can be anywhere from 15, 20, 25% or more.
Mm-hmm.
And this is money you are throwing away every month without even paying any attention to it. And this is money you could be saving or spending on something for yourself, right?
Something
Instead
that
of
actually
throwing it away.
matters to you
Yes.
instead of spending on, maybe
Yes.
the Starbucks or the McDonald's that you got yesterday.
Exactly. So I just have people start with awareness. Just look at it. Don't do anything. Just look at it. You don't need to make any changes. Just look, pay attention, become aware, right? And then we go into how much does it cost to be you? And we go into all of that. And then from there, we create the plan, right? So, and I also teach values-based spending and what you had just said about something you care about, right? So I teach you, we go through all of that. I have a whole exercise that we do about what do you care about? What are your values? What do you want, right? And then you get to tell your money what to do. And we take that awareness of what you're spending your money on and where it's being wasted, and we shift it to what you actually care about.
Mm. So one of the things is to not have fear around money is just to freaking look at it.
Yeah.
Just look at it. And that's always like the first step. Just look at it. What's going on with it? And I think that is people's biggest fear. Like, well, if I don't look at it, then I don't have to deal with it. Right. But meanwhile,
get your head out of the sand.
and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Your credit card debt's piling up. Like all this stuff is happening. You don't even know how much you're paying interest. Yes. And we can have a whole nother podcast on that.
I know.
But
we can talk for hours about this.
We can. So we're going to have to do another
part 2.
Yeah. Part 2, part 3, part 4. But yes, paying attention, that when, like you said, when we bring awareness, that kind of like, okay, well, now I know. So now I have the power to choose to either go back in my hole or come out and do something about it.
Exactly.
And that choice is up to you.
Yep. And if you think about choice, just that one word, this is another mindset thing. I love mindset. Choices. Yes. All of the choices that you have made until this point today have created the life that you have now. So right now you can't unhear this because you've heard it. You cannot unhear this. So now moving forward from this point on, every single choice that you make will create the life that you want. So all you need to do is think before you do. Think before you spend. And that's it, right? Create these new choices, this new way of thinking. And I talk about that all the time on my podcast. I love trying to make people think in a completely different perspective, because if you keep thinking the way you're thinking today, you're going to make 0 changes. And once you flip your thinking from the negative to the positive, and you stop thinking about the past, everyone's stuck in the past. You can't change the past. The past is done. Create your future. Exactly. F the past. Move on.
There's nothing we can do about it. And
no,
that's so true. Like, we've done what we've done. And that's why I think some of the shame can come in too. Is like, oh my gosh, I've done that before. But it's like, okay, you did it. Fine.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever. It's over. Now you're going to make choices moving forward today. What an incredible conversation. I hate to stop this. I mean, it's just starting to get hot.
Right?
But
stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned, because we're going to have her back. So if they want to get in touch with you or listen to your podcast, how can they get in touch with you and find out more about you?
The easiest way to get in touch with me is through my website, momswhomoney.com. My everything is there. I'm on Instagram, Facebook as Eileen Joy Money Coach. I'm also on LinkedIn as Eileen Joy, Moms Who Money. And my podcast is called Moms Who Money. And it's everywhere. You can, anywhere that podcasts are streaming, you can listen to it. You can also listen to it on my website. That's easier for you.
Awesome. And we'll put all that stuff in the show notes for you guys as well. Eileen, thank you again so much for being here. This was an amazing conversation, and thank everyone else for being here. I appreciate you guys coming and supporting. Again, my name is Dawnette Palmore, and I am your host, and I am on a mission to empower you to give your money more purpose so you can live your purpose.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Your Money on Purpose podcast. If you got value out of this episode, I would be forever grateful if you would leave a review and then hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast so that you never miss an episode. Thank you again for being here, and until next time, remember, money is just a tool that we get to use to live out our purpose.